So it's just the same. Now, one has to understand that when you have committed a mistake, you are a human being. To err is human and to forgive divine. But you must know that you have erred. If you go on giving explanations, then one thing is definite, you do not understand that God knows everything. If He says you have done wrong, then it is a wrong. How can you challenge? How can you say, this is the reason I did it, that's the reason? It's the thing one must understand. Because this is the power of electricity, you must understand, it gives you a shock. It shocks you. And then you realize that I have done a mistake. So don't create a shock for yourself. Do not behave in a manner that ultimately you end up with a shock. Of course, the mother's power is so forgiving, Sadashiva's power is so forgiving, that you are allowed and allowed and allowed to continue with what you are doing for a while. But is being told, is explained to you that this is wrong. But supposing you cross your limits, absolutely, then suddenly the Vishnu Maya appears and the whole thing gets exposed. In Sahaja Yoga, you get exposed. So one must know that though this power is so helpful, so guiding, so improving and nourishing and protecting, still, up to a point. Otherwise it is she only who exposes you. Because she can't bear any more this nonsense one. So if you go on like that, she'll just see to it that she is exposed. You have seen people have been doing all kinds of filthy things. I have known many prime ministers and all these presidents and this and that. When they die, exposed. Nobody says that such and such person was a chaste person. Very few leaders of nations have got this certificate, that they were very chaste people. Chastity is a very, very rare certificate they get. Because once you get a power in life, then you think you have a free hand. You can do what you like. You can be a chaste person. You can be anyway unchaste. You can do what you like. You become sort of overpowered with this idea that I have got all the powers now, I am very well placed. And that becomes a complete delusion for you, and you forget that chastity is so important. So the higher a person is placed in life, the higher positions he occupies, the higher the ego pampering stuff he gets, the more he presses down on the left Vishuddhi. So such a person escapes into the left Vishuddhi because in his heart of hearts, in his unconscious, he feels guilty. And the whole thing goes as a guilt in the left Vishuddhi. And when it goes as a guilt in the left Vishuddhi, then it's a difficult situation because such a person, he becomes extremely sensitive. You say anything to that person, he feels more guilty. You try to cure his left Vishuddhi, then he becomes even worse. It's a very bad situation with left Vishuddhi people. And they are the people who have left Vishuddhi always give explanations. A person who has right Vishuddhi will be arrogant, but left Vishuddhi people have a very sly method of giving answers back, an explanation for everything. Whatever you say, they will say, no mother, this is this, this is this. This is one thing. Not only, it doesn't end there, it gives you sarcasm. That's why in the West people never talk straightforward, it's always sarcastic. To talk straightforward means they think it's stupid, it's unintelligent. Unless and until you talk in a very sarcastic manner, sometimes, it's difficult to reach. That's how, in a very crooked way, they talk. And that crookery comes through this left Vishuddhi problem. If your left Vishuddhi is so bad, you cannot achieve anything that is sweet, that is beautiful, that's appreciative. Left Vishuddhi will never appreciate. Those who suffer from left Vishuddhi can never appreciate another person, can never. It will have its own say. It will think I am the best because it has to exist. That problem has to exist. So how? It's a kind of a perverted ego that doesn't want to accept that anybody can be better than me, that anybody I have to follow, that I have to take some lessons from another one. I have had many examples, I see, especially people who are with me, I find they get into left Vishuddhi very fast because they lack in protocol. Once they start lacking in protocol, they go into left Vishuddhi. So to be with me is a blessing, no doubt, but also one has to be very, very careful that you do not cross the protocols. Do not try to come over forward, just prancing. Some people have a habit of crossing the limits, and as soon as you cross the limit, left Vishuddhi is created. This should be awe for your mother. There should be respect for your mother, which is guarded by left Vishuddhi. Now, this is a very hidden power of Sri Ganesha. What you call is the power of Ganesha is left Vishuddhi, acting like chastity. Ganesha's power are all expressed through left Vishuddhi. So those who believe in Ganesha in pure innocence must know that in your every day-to-day behavior, in every day-to-day action, there should be chastity. Ganesha is expressed as flowers of chastity. And just see, in the divine law, if there is no chastity, how do you delimit people? How do you make all right? How do you cleanse them? How do you make them evolve? Supposing a tree is growing and there is no limit in it, it just grows like a wild thing, it has no limits, then what will you get out of it? Nothing. So to make a person higher and higher, you have to limit it. My father used to give a very good example of this, that if you take some wheat, the wheat, you please now don't disturb. If you want to go out, you can go out, but don't disturb the people, anybody moving about. This is also another thing. See, all these things are nothing but the upheaval of the left Vishuddhi. See, all this show off or disturbing or trying to be overpowering or very forward person or bumptiousness, all these come from left Vishuddhi because you want to overcome your left Vishuddhi, so you do it. And then it is added to it. The more you try to overcome it, the more it is added to it. Now, the father's story, I must tell you that he said that you have got the wheat and if you spread it, it just fritters away like attention does. But if you put in a gunny bag, in a bag, you can heap it up and it can achieve a height. In the same way, if you fritter away your attention without chastity, it spreads out. It has no limits, it has no forms, it has no shape. But if you delimit it, then you become higher and higher and higher, and you can rise higher in your spiritual life. As you are the people who want to lead a very spiritual life, you must understand that left Vishuddhi is to be corrected. Now, how do you correct your left Vishuddhi? I get sometimes very tired with them, really I get very, and I just give them up. Because if they are catching and you tell them you are catching, they become even worse. What a vicious circle it is. What is the cure for it? How to break the vicious circle? Is by facing it. Should say what? You are feeling guilty for what? You are doing the same mistake again and again and still you are doing it. You should give all injections to yourself. But instead of that, they start telling me, no mother, no mother, no mother. You tell yourself, no, myself. I have done this today, tomorrow I am going to do it, day after tomorrow I am going to do it. Stop it now, stop. And stop at this point. There you exert your Vishnu Maya power. Vishnu Maya power has to be neutralized, if so, by your mistakes. But if it has to be brought back into its power, you must use Vishnu Maya's power by giving yourself shocks. Then only you can do it. So on that point, on the Vishnu Maya point, I really fail. You have to do it. And that's why I was thinking about this puja, that when you people are doing this puja to me, if I say anything, it will create more Vishnu Maya in you. But that's the easiest way to manage things. You see, I am feeling guilty. You're finished. I have taken the punishment, I call myself guilty. It's like in the court, the jury says you are guilty. All right, accepted, I am guilty. But no punishment. Take no punishment. If you have done wrong, then punish yourself. Now there are two ways people punish. One is like some people punish them by saying that I will not have my food. But those people who have a habit of not having food, and this thing can also become aggressive with that kind of a habit to trouble others by not eating food. I mean, human beings are very crooked. They know how to kill themselves with a crooked knife all the time. So that's not the way you can correct yourself. If you have to correct yourself, then you have to face yourself in a proper way. Supposing you have done something wrong, then you should do something that you would like to do normally and punish yourself. You should not do something that you would like to do normally. Like correcting yourself, somebody is, say, very fond of the gardens, of flowers. Then you do some mistake, you don't see flowers for some time. Just close your eyes for flowers. Now, there are some people, supposing, who are fond of singing. So, if you do mistakes, then just stop singing. That's how you have to show. You must know Vishnu Maya is a light thing, and the lecture has to be like that. It cannot be that soft one as Sri Krishna was. A very powerful thing I am telling you. And may God awaken that power within you of Vishnu Maya. It's the most powerful thing that a human being can have. It's the most auspicious thing. You become a holy personality. This is one of the ways of getting God's realization. It was a nice question, aptly asked, right time yesterday, is to establish your chastity. Not by giving bandhans, taking vibrations from mother and then getting lost, not that way. You yourself correcting yourself morning till evening and facing yourself and not feeling guilty and learning new things all the time is the sister who teaches you all the time how to be better and better and better, not the mother. Because mother, you can say no mother. To a sister, if you say electricity, all right, try your fingers in the plug and you will know. No explanations. With this understanding, today we are going to do the puja for the establishment of our chastity. Chastity of our emotions and chastity of our mind. Now whatever you have done so far, forget it, forget the past. That is very important also, to forget the past. Because that's a very good way of explaining, because I had this, that's why it has happened. My mother was like this, that happened. My father was like this. Mother, father, everybody, you forget now you belong to this family, which is a holy family. People who are saints, sitting here, among them you are. And automatically these laws will start working. I will not have to tell you whether you be friendly with that person or not friendly with that person. You see, interest in another sex all the time is not a sign of chastity. It's horrid, absolutely ridiculous. You become stupid. Like some men know so much about what women use, perfumes. What's the use? Are you slaves of women or what? They become experts on this nonsensical thing. Your men live like men. And women have to have that sense of chastity within themselves because they are the powers. Why do you want you to become like men? I mean, you are the powers behind them. And women must look after their chastity. For that I must say, I must bow to Indian women for that. The way they are humble, the way they are chaste, one has to learn. Of course, there are many who are not also, but the humility that they have. There is only one category we should not have humility. That is the incarnations. I cannot have humility. Sorry to say. There are certain qualities you can have and enjoy and cherish. I cannot. I cannot humble down myself. Cannot do it. I'm sorry. Not supposed to be. No incarnation was humble. They cannot. Because they have no guilt. I have put so many guilty people in my left Vishuddhi that my ears are getting blocked, trying to clear them out. If you can clear out your guilt, my ears will be opened up. My trouble will go away. So please, I request you to keep your left Vishuddhi alright. Don't feel guilty. Be in the center. Be in the center. Watch yourself and face yourself. Shock yourself. Correct yourself. Only such people will ascend. Another way is meditation. With your left hand towards the photograph, the light there, right hand on the Mother Earth, you can work it out. Put the light over here, you have bandhan to your left Vishuddhi, you can work it out. But these become rituals if you do not do it from your heart. So first of all, face it. Mentally face it fully, then do it with these things. Emotionally understand it also, that the emotions you have should have no guilt in it. So for all our practical purposes, we are not to use all such words which shows our guilt, but humility. Humility is very different from a guilty person. Guilty person is the person who is under duress, under pressures, but a humble person is a free person. He is humble in his own fruit, in his own exuberance, like the trees, when they are loaded with fruit, they just bow to the Mother Earth. Like if you go to the sea, you will find that all the trees around the sea, especially the coconut trees, all bend towards the sea. Because the sea has given them that speciality. The water that is in the coconut comes from the sea. So all of them have that respect, that humility towards the sea. In the same way, a person who is not guilty only will be really humble, because guilty people, as I told you, are aggressive by their sarcasm, by their nasty words, by their answering back, by their explanations. But a humble person is a free person, free to be humble, free to be kind, to be gentle, to be compassionate. And that sort of Sahajogis you have to be, so that when people meet you, they are impressed by your humility. But humility doesn't have any subservience. Innocence and humility. I lack that quality completely. I cannot be humble. And you should never try to humble me down, because that is not to be done. But nobody can say in my behavior when they meet me that I am not humble. I act as a very humble person. I can act as a very humble person, but to be very frank, I have no humility within me. No humility. Compassion is very different from humility. Humility is a human quality, is a special quality only the bhaktas have. Only the bhaktas have. It is such a beautiful quality of taking the showers of the one who gives bliss cannot be humble, because it cannot take it. It's the only human beings who are humble and who can take it and achieve it and receive it. And a person who cannot take is so lonely, so lonely. Such a person cannot get companionship with anyone, because it has to give and give and is so lonely and has to face everything oneself. Those who are humble can only become friendly with each other, can share their problems with each other. I cannot, because you have no solutions. I have to solve my own problem. So the humility can only help you to articulate and to have rapport with your friends, everyone. Share your difficulties. But again, I have to warn you, because it always happens. Your humility should not be sympathetic. Humility is a detached person. It's a detached quality. It's not a quality that gets attached to one person or second person. It's a humble style of life, where you are not arrogant unnecessarily, you don't shout at people. But in India, we say the cow is a very humble animal. It gives its milk. It provides everything. It doesn't attack it. So, humility is such a guard for you. Of course, sometimes people take advantage of humble people. Doesn't matter. As long as you have not lost your humility, everything is all right. But people lose their humility. When people try to trouble them, they become left Vishuddhites, and then they lose their humility. And that's one thing one should not do. Because if you have to keep connection with the divine, then you have to be humble. There's no other way. If you are not a humble person, you cannot keep the relationship. So two qualities, like a plug and a socket. The plug has to be the plug, and the socket has to be socket. In the same way, if you have to get something out of the divine, you have to be humble. Through arrogance, you will not get it. Through aggression, you will not get it. Through anything, some people also feel that I love mother, but that love is to be expressed through complete humility. That's the only way, that's the only channel through which you can approach. There's no way. So we end up today on a very high stage. It's the beginning of God's realization. But you must speed up with me. It's not easy to keep speed with me. So you have to speed up with me. If you have to go towards God's realization, first establish your sense of chastity and humility. May God